Hi, welcome to Life Behind the Bar. This is your host Niko. In today's episode, we'll be joined by Rachel. She's a bartender out of the Space Coast, a dear friend of mine, and somebody that has a remarkable story to share with us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and please rate our show on Spotify, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Enjoy. Welcome to the Life Behind the Bar podcast today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you here because, we've been talking about this for a little bit, and honestly, it's one of those things that, you're one of the people that I know in this industry that is so full of knowledge and so full of talent and so full of stories that I've been wanting to talk. And the first time I met you, I was like, this girl is awesome. So when you told me, I'm down to an interview, I was like, fuck yes.
Thank you so much. I took it as a complete and total compliment from you because I remember the first time we met.
Yeah.
And I was interviewing you for a job at my establishment, but I felt your talents were way far beyond what I at my establishment was going to be. Really though. And so I decided, I gave you up to another establishment, our sister company, of course, but I was so happy to meet you because your talent and your passion, because you did that stuff at home, like what you were telling me you were doing. He was smoking old fashions and doing crazy fun stuff at home just for fun. And it's like, okay, yeah, you deserve to be at a craft cocktail bar.
There was a part of making that stuff at home that was, I got to drink it after. But now that I'm sober, I still do it, and I still try to make stuff at home, or I do it for people that I know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I have a few projects that you might I'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
Once I'm ready, and I'll have you over, and we'll make some drinks and put some stuff together.
It's exciting.
Make some videos and shit.
Yes, yeah. I love it. Love it. Awesome.
So Rachel, what do you know about the Life Behind the Bar?
Well, I know you founded it, and you are doing an amazing job with just interviewing local bartenders, even non-local bartenders, traveling to go do this.
Yes.
This is fantastic. I'm super excited for you. And I just know that you're getting people's stories and you are putting it out there, like what life behind the bar is, in a different perspective from each individual person. I love the way how you choose people based on their living situations and what they have going on in their lives and their experiences.
Thanks. Well, the whole idea was because you're a bartender, you've done management, you bartender, you're doing service, you've done all sorts of stuff in the industry. However, one of the things that we always get is oh, that's not a real job. Oh, that's and to me, that always resonated where I was like, it is a real job. I mean, we're getting paid for it. We make more money than most people that work real jobs. But one of the things about it was kind of there's a lot of diversity in this industry, people that come from all walks of life and all backgrounds. And that was something for example, I'm an immigrant. I'm a Colombian immigrant. I came from another country. There's veterans. I've run into people that were in finance and decided we went, fuck this corporate life, and they went to bartending and now they love it. I've run into all sorts of people. And I thought that because of that diversity, there was going to be there was an opportunity to be able to tell all these stories and let people know that are not part of the industry what it is to be, what we go through, who we are, what struggles, where the challenges, or what are the happy stories and the sad stories, the funny, the ugly, the bad, and everything. So that's why I decided to start doing this. But I want to hear about you. I want to hear your story. We're here to talk about you, Rachel. We're here to talk about your story. So where are you originally from?
I was born in Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama.
Yes. I don't remember it though. We left when I was 2. I don't actually, I would say Florida would be where I'm originally from, but growing up, we moved all over the place.
Were you a military brat or something like that?
Actually, my dad was a pastor and he started churches all over the United States. So pastor's daughter turned bartender. Yay.
So you are the pastor's daughter, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. But it was not your normal pastor type thing. I don't know if you know Little House on the Prairie.
I am familiar with it a little bit, yeah.
Anybody knows this, just minus the bonnet, and basically that was my life. That's how I dressed, grew up on farms, had no television, was homeschooled up until the age of 15 when we moved here to Brevard County, Florida.
So, all right. So I didn't know that about you,
Uh-huh.
which is awesome. I think that it's interesting. Like, how is growing up in that type of like, religion? But it was like, or like like that life. How was growing up like that, or being a
I think that
teenager?
everybody grew up that way. That's how sheltered I was.
Oh.
And anybody that didn't grow up that way was not going to heaven. So I wasn't allowed to talk to me. So nobody could tell
Yeah.
me anything otherwise. But yeah, so I grew up on acres and acres of land where you didn't really have neighbors.
Yeah.
And then and church was basically my social interaction with people. And that's what I thought most people in America grew up like. My even my curriculum was faith-based, so we didn't have regular science, we didn't have regular history, we had biblical everything.
Oh my god.
So American history was something brand new to me, and I lived in America and I had no idea about anything about it. So yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known people that have been brought up in like very religious families. Like I grew up Catholic,
Uh-huh.
but I was the black sheep of the family the whole life. Like they tried, but I've known of people that have been brought up like homeschool and stuff like that. And I always like Mormons, for example, and I found it fascinating, and I always was curious about like how is it growing up? Like, did you go to high school at all, or like were you homeschool all the way up until you graduated high school?
So, unfortunately, my parents decided to separate when I was 15, and
Okay.
we moved down here. And my mom had to work for the first time. She was a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled us. She had to work for the first time in like over 20 years. So she got a job as a nurse, and I ended up going to high school. I just so happened to get here right as ninth grade was starting and whatnot. So I got in at the perfect time because they wouldn't accept our homeschool credits. So I did have to make up some credits or whatnot. But yeah, I ended up going to Satellite High as my first experience in school. And that was before Vieira was here. So that was the rich kids school that I went to. So
Satellite High.
yeah, all the kids with all the mansion doctors, kids and lawyers,
Lawyers.
kids and all that other stuff. I was not that, and obviously pastors started growing up on farms and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just say I introduced myself to the world the way it is now. My parents had nothing to do with it, and my peers helped me get
Kind of like
through.
navigate the waters a little bit.
Yeah, I just should have picked better peers.
Well, that's crazy. And then, well, now at that point, you're in Brevard County. You get out of high school. What happens after high school?
Well, I decided to not go to college. I decided that I was going to move back in. I moved out when I was 17 when I graduated. I moved back into my mom's house when I was 18. I just worked odd end jobs there. And then there was this restaurant opening up down the street. My mom's like, "You're going to go get a job." And that's where I was introduced to the restaurant industry, was this little beer and wine place down the street that's now a huge staple in this community. And yeah, that's
So your mom just basically offered you to the gods
yes,
of the restaurant industry. It was like, here, I offer you a sacrifice.
basically. She was like, "Here you go, be free and,
Well,
and
thanks to
make
your mom
money."
for putting this beautiful gem on our lives, because definitely did us all a favor for sure, especially in the
you.
industry in this area.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So you started working as a server.
Yeah, just a server. There was only beer and wine. I was the bartending server there at that place, which was like took care of to-goes, was the expo, and
Yeah.
like the bartender behind the bar, but it was only beer and wine. So I had no experience with mixed cocktails.
Yeah.
Let's just say my mixed cocktails was like a triple crown with a splash of Coke type of a thing. That's basically what you were getting from me if you ordered. So a lot of people wanted that,
Yeah.
but no.
Just
Exactly. It's just like, when do I stop?
looks full enough.
There you go.
Splash of Coke.
A little splash, a little color in
Yeah.
there, a little. But yeah, that's just how it started, and I really found out I was good at serving. I could remember orders. I could make people laugh. I didn't really mess up that often, and I made really good money.
Yes.
So
Especially in that area.
yes, Satellite.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing else out there really at the time. So it was like when that place opened, everybody flocked to it.
Nice.
Yeah,
So how long were you there for?
5 years.
You worked there for 5 years.
5 years.
And why do you leave?
Well, let's just say I dabbled in some recreational activities, and dabbling turned into more of an addiction.
Okay.
So that is where I wasn't introduced to it there, but that's where it really picked up. I ended up getting into a little bit of trouble with the law. Ended up wanting to change my life, and the only way I could was getting away from people, places, and things.
Yes.
So yeah, I got out of Brevard County for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then I came back and I just did not talk to the same people. I didn't do the same things and whatnot. And then I actually got out of the restaurant industry for about 1.5 years.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the nature of the industry, especially if you work at a restaurant is not as bad, but if you work at a bar, it's all over the place. And
Right.
like, if you have like issues with addiction or stuff like that, that's not environment that you want to be in, because it makes it more likely for you to like have a like go back into it or like fall back. And I get it. I mean, I grew up in the industry. My was an addict, and it was kind of like I understand the whole like I'm gonna remove myself from the situation. But that's awesome that you did that. Like it's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No. It definitely wasn't easy, especially since my whole entire family lived here as well.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I also had a young son at the time, but that's pretty much the reason why I wanted to stop in the first place.
Yeah.
Is because every boundary and every rule I put up, I was breaking. And I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to put myself and my child in danger at some point in time if I continue this. So things changed, you know. Like I said, I got in trouble with the law, so that helped start it. So it wasn't 100% me. So, but yeah, that's how it started. And I worked as down at Sebastian Inlet State Park as a park services specialist, which basically meant I was their little bitch. Did whatever they needed me to do down there. And I was miserable. I was outside in nature, enjoying the beauty of everything, but I was dead inside it.
Like, was it like not being around people? Yeah, it's like not having the internet, the social, because you're a very sociable person. Like, I love talking to you because you're like you're great at having conversations. You're always like so energetic. So I can't like, I love being in nature by myself because that's just who I am as a person. If I could, I would live in a mountain in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But I can see why that will affect you because you're very sociable. You're somebody like you're always talking to somebody. You're always like super energetic.
Yeah, the crazy ginger energy that I have just doesn't go anywhere. Coffee helps with that too.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, but yeah, so I love people, and the only people there to talk to were fishermen, and they really didn't want to talk to you because you need to be quiet so they could fish. So it was not the right fit for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I ended up getting a job over at a corporate place and only working days because that was the boundary I put up for myself.
Yeah.
So I to get back into the restaurant industry. I still hadn't bartended at this point. I was still just serving.
Yeah.
And I've been managing like on and off some places and whatnot, like, but never in the restaurant industry. I was just too scared to work those nights, you know, because that's what it was. It was like a social thing for me. It started all socially, like, let's go out and have a drink. Let's go out and do this. And if there's this saying, if you spend all your time at a barbershop, you're destined to get a freaking haircut.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with drinking and everything like that. And for me, alcohol, non-alcoholic, by the way, we have our beautiful beer. Cheers with our non-alcoholic beers. But I didn't want to be around the alcohol in the social scene the way that it was. So I decided to work only days. I made decent money doing it, but nowhere near what I was before working those night shifts and everything. So that's how I got back into the industry. I went to a corporate place, worked there for about 5.5 years as well, only days. And that is, I think, the foundation of me like losing the desire to drink, you know. Losing the desire to do drugs, losing the desire to do everything. Mind you, I've never been a drinker while I've bartended. I still have yet to bartend at this point of the story. And it's 5 years later.
And
you know,
you're already like sober.
I'm already sober by the time I even get asked to bartend.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that happened.
That's awesome.
That happened with your old boss, Erica.
Yes.
So Erica actually asked me, her Sunday bartender had gotten a a big boy job, Monday through Friday job,
Yeah, corporate.
a real
Real
one
job.
according to people. But yeah, so he didn't want to work on Sundays anymore, and I was like, oh, mimosas and Bloody Marys, how hard can it be?
Right.
Big deal. And just training, the first day of training behind the bar, watching her create a cocktail for somebody, oh my god, I caught the bug. I was like, I have to. Like, this is so
She
cool.
is another person that I was like impressed. Like the stuff that is in her brain, it's like I was kind of like I wish I could just like look into her and see what's like pick her brain a little bit, like what's going on in that head, because she comes up with some amazing idea.
She does. And they're all outside the box. They're all fun. I know she researches and does all sorts of things. She puts in the work and everything, but she has a talent. She has a natural born talent for this. And I caught the bug just from watching her. And come to find out, I also have a little bit of a talent for it. I love creating drinks.
Right.
All right. So basically, working on Sunday mornings, creating new cocktails for people, them actually liking it.
Yeah.
That is what made me just want to continue to do that. The feeling that I got watching them taste something that I created for them, just, oh my goodness. Like, it was like so satisfying. It was like one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever seen. Yeah, exactly. It's like the sunlight. But yeah, it's one of those things to where I fell in love with it, not knowing that I fell in love with it because I was scared of it. I was so scared of working with the alcohol that closely. And the fact that I wasn't tasting anything. Like, because when I first started bartending, I was so adamant that I'm not going to even have a drop of alcohol. I'm not going to taste what this tastes like. I had to rely on everybody else to tell me what to do. And I will say, I have a fun little story about our previous boss.
Yeah.
When I applied to become the bar manager for this establishment, it's because Erica was moving on to the next establishment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to apply for this job, and I was told by the owner that he didn't trust the fact that I'd be able to make a menu, drink menus, and all this other stuff because I couldn't taste the drinks. Okay, this coming from another recovering alcoholic as well, who hasn't touched a drink in over 20 years.
Yeah.
But owns a restaurant that serves alcohol, makes money off it, and all this other stuff. He didn't trust my process of it. And I threw it right back in his face because on his staff for 20 years now, he has a vegetarian that cooks meat. And I'm like, so when he cooks a burger and they want it medium and
How does
medium,
he know how it tastes?
does he know how it tastes? He's a vegetarian. And he's like, touche. I think that's actually what got me the bar management
Probably.
job.
Like, she's a smart ass. So there's not like I can't argue with that logic. Forget it.
It's data.
Yeah,
So-
it's just the way it is. It's like a lot of times, like I started bartending, and obviously I used to drink, so I kind of have an idea with like how things like taste and stuff like that. So like now I'm like, all right, I can figure out what things go well with that. But I think it's really impressive that you were able to figure this out without even being able to taste it. Like you're like not tasting your drinks. You're not like taking a chance for obvious reasons, but it's pretty impressive to be able to put the stuff that you put together. Because I remember the drink menu at that place, and it was freaking outstanding. And I remember like the drinks were delicious. Like, and that's when I used to drink. I used to come out there and like get some pizza, eat some drinks, and I never had an issue with the drinks, honestly. And so that was that. I didn't know that about you. I thought like you at least knew how it tasted, or like I was like, all right, maybe she just stopped drinking, but she's been, no, that's actually I have a whole new level of respect for what you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do taste them now, so because I've gotten
okay,
more,
now you're cheating.
Now I do straw test my drinks and other people's drinks because I don't want to put something on the menu that people aren't going to like, that's not going to sell. Plus, all the different ingredients that are being made now.
Yes, it's
like
insane.
It is insane. Like if I wanted, okay, so the reason why I started tasting drinks is because of craft cocktails.
Yes.
all like what makes a craft cocktail is not the liquor that you put in it, it's everything else that you put in it. So like
even the process, even the way you make it, like it's not
Exactly.
necessarily just like liquor and ingredients together. It's like how you are going to put this together and how shaking something or you're stirring something can change the entire profile of a drink.
It's so true. Like the sours, the whiskey sours and stuff, doing an egg white in there or free foam, which is an egg white alternative, but dry shaking and ice shaking and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
People don't realize the science that goes into it. And I have a fun time educating people on the science of things. I love it.
Let me get out for a second.
Would you like to know the history behind it?
So you go, you work with Erica, she starts getting you into the bar, like teaching how to make cocktails. I mean, luckily for you, you got a great teacher because she's awesome. She's an absolute freaking talent. And then that was basically like you're making cocktails, you're building like now you're in a management position as a bar manager, but you go from that to start like, all right, I want to get into the crafty side of shit. Like this is where I want to pick your brain because you and Erica are probably one of the people that I know that do most of the craft cocktails in this area. But especially you, and you have some like crazy ideas, and clearly you have a very creative side of you. And when I mean crazy ideas, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I mean that in like that's absolutely amazing what you do. So I want to know you start figuring out how to play with things in the cocktails, how to play with ingredients, and how do you go like, all right, this is what I fucking want to do. Like I want to turn to like a mad scientist of liquor and just start putting shit together.
I really don't know. It kind of organically happened for me. I had somebody come to me when I knew I was ready to leave the establishment I was at, come to me and tell me that there was a craft cocktail bar that had 0 female bartenders. 0. It was all males. And so I was like, oh, well, there's my in. So I get there and then I just see what this bartender is doing. And it's levels above anything I've seen in this area. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this. I want to be like, and the creative freedom that he gave there was amazing as well. So basically, all of his drinks that he made, I would taste them, do a straw taste on them. I'm like, what can I do to make this weird? Yeah. What can I do to make this so different? So say an espresso martini. Mm-hmm. So instead of having a regular espresso martini, and I'm also all about the sales and the upsells. So just saying, more money in the pocket. Anyway,
soft skills, baby, soft skills.
Yes. So an espresso martini. I decided we made our own habanero tincture there. I was like, who doesn't like spicy? A little bit bitter, maybe a little bit of sweet in there. Come on, let's go. So I added some habanero tincture to an espresso martini, and I made myself a spicy espresso martini. Then I added some creme de cacao, the clear, to it. And I don't put cream in any of my espresso martinis because that is not the proper way to do it.
Gross.
Just saying. If you like cream in it, that's cool. Just saying. Won't be on the menu with cream in it. But adds a little bit of creme de cacao, a little bit of habanero tincture to it. You have a sweet and spicy, bitter espresso martini at that point. And I just like to play with things. Like that was just kind of the first one. It started catching on. And I'm like, okay, cool. People actually like this weird stuff. People are cool with it. But you have to get the measurements right on it or it's just too overpowering. All this stuff. That's the part about craft cocktail that people don't understand.
It gets a little bit like sciencey in a way. Like it's not just like going all crazy and wild. Like there is a method to the madness.
There really is. Definitely is. And I will say my teachers in my craft are professionals. They should be scientists. These mixologists should be scientists, because
like kind of alchemy situation going on.
Yes. And like there's so many things. When I did drink, I was just a beer and a shot girl. Like I wasn't a cocktail. I didn't like the sugary drinks. None of that settled well with me when I drank and everything. So I didn't know what any of these ingredients tasted like. So that's when I started tasting the ingredients was with the craft cocktails because I needed to know, hey, is a black walnut bitter going to make that much difference in an old fashioned? Oh, yeah, it does.
Yes.
It really does make that much of a difference in an old fashioned. So yeah, that's just kind of.
It's like it's a whole like world that now it's more explored, but like just 4 years ago was a very like unexplored world. Like you see it everywhere now. 4 or 5 years ago, you worked at a bar, like you knew the cocktails and stuff and some variations and stuff, but like people started really, really, really messing with things like about that time. And they're like, all right, let's try to get some more bitters. And then more products started to become available because that was the other thing, especially in an area like this one where like there is not that much diversity. Like me coming from New York, I was able to see all sorts of shit. But and still back then wasn't that popular, but now it's like you see all sorts of type of bitters, you're seeing all sorts of byproducts that are being made from other things that you're like flavors, like people are like, all right, let's just, there's like this explosion of like things that become available out of nowhere. And that's why you probably like walked into that moment into like the perfect like wave, you caught the wave like a surfer, just like at the perfect moment.
I really did. I can't surf worth crap, but hey, I caught
Yeah.
that wave. Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I
Totally.
can.
Oh, it's bad. I am a redhead. White doesn't go to the beach that often for a reason. But yeah, so it just I love the craft cocktail world, and that's kind of where I got into the mocktail craft
Yes.
mocktails as well. So I can make like, for me being sober, as you know, you go someplace and the only non-alcoholic thing is going to be beer, sodas, sometimes wine. There's really no mocktail choices on there, and there's nothing that's going to make me feel good because it's all sugar, you know. So unless it's refreshing or something like that, but I mean, like nothing's going to give me any kind of good feel in the body or anything. So I decided I wanted to do some CBD along with it.
So that I want to dig into. Last time we talked, we talked about being sober bartenders. We talked about how, and I actually wrote a little bit of an article about how there is this increase in the industry in which people are not looking for alcoholic beverages, or there's a lot of people that one of the biggest problems of being sober is that you don't want to go out and you end up isolating yourself, and that kind of like makes you a little depressed and stuff because you don't want to go to a bar and not be able to drink and just drink water the whole time. But when you have a drink that is not necessarily alcoholic, but it looks like an alcoholic, like, it looks like a cocktail, like looks like an old fashioned, it looks like a mai tai or like a mojito, and you're drinking, but it doesn't taste bad. It actually tastes really good, and you might want to have a couple more because you feel like, okay, I'm gonna drink this. Is not just straight up fucking Coca Cola, and I'm gonna have 5 fucking Coca Colas all night. No, like you're actually enjoying something tasteful, like you're eating a great appetizer. That's one of the things that is starting to like come up in the industry a lot, and that you start to see this, and there's like a huge name that there's spirits, non-alcoholic spirits everywhere. And you are the first bartender in this area that I actually know of that has a dedicated mocktail cocktail menu where you actually have put a lot of them. But when you mentioned the CBD infusion stuff, I was like, all right, I need to hear about this. So how do you go from like, all right, we're making these drinks, people can drink and everything, but I think CBD, like, I can incorporate into it.
Well, it actually got brought to my attention by a rep, a liquor rep, saying that CBD consumption in bars is part of the liquor licensing and whatnot that we have, to where you don't have to get different licensing just to be able to have that product and sell that product. So basically, me wanting to feel good and have fun and drink something other than Sprite or water or something like that when I go out made me want to get into the CBD world, the mocktail world. Well, I've always been a mocktail girl. Whenever I work, I make myself a mocktail.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And that caught on to other people wanting it. I had pregnant women wanting it. And then, people would add alcohol to my mocktails and it would still be a decent drink, So it was just like, that's how it got started. But then through the rep, bringing in samples of different flavored like mixers to go with it. I don't like the mixers that much, to tell you the truth. It's not my favorite. It really changes the whole taste profile. Yeah. I'm more of like, let's infuse some fruits. Let's infuse, let's have the gummies as an add-on. You can just get the CBD gummy and have it as an
use it
add-on.
as a garnish or something.
That's exactly what I did to introduce it to everybody, because this area I don't feel has as much knowledge as it should about CBD and what it does for you.
Well, that's the thing, is that first, we live in Florida. Florida just recently, like 2 years ago, made it legal for medical marijuana.
Oh yeah.
So it's very restricted, and so it hasn't. And even with that being passed, like I feel like the industry here hasn't really caught on that much yet because there's still a lot of like figuring out things that they're trying to do in the legislation. We're like, how do we license this? How do we do this? And it's just medical, so like recreational is not out there yet here. I bet Colorado or California, places like that, they have it. They have the availability, kind of like what we're talking about with like the other like the craft cocktail stuff before. Like we didn't have the tinctures, we didn't have like any of these other like bitters or variety 4 years ago. But I feel like that's starting to pop up, and so you're introducing CBD into your mocktails. How is that? How are people in this area taking that?
Well, it actually surprised me. I thought it was just going to be the younger crowd coming in and wanting to do it and whatnot, but I sold more to people in their 50s and 60s than I did anybody else. Like, it was crazy.
Like
It
all
was like,
hippies.
yeah, well, you put it on display and I just did the gummies, like I said. Like, I wasn't trying to do anything crazy
Yeah.
with the mixers and stuff like that yet. I still haven't gotten to I have recipes for them, but I haven't put them on a menu yet.
Yeah.
But the CBD gummies is just something that's in a package that you can see and you can read the ingredients on. So I feel like that made people feel safe. I think it made them feel like, hey, I can get this Delta 8 gummy or this Delta 9 gummy, and I know what it's going to do to me because I can read what's on there. Now, if I'm just mixing things together and saying, here you go, you have no idea how much I put in there, what I did, or anything like that. And I think that's what scares me, is that the unknown. Like, are you going to drug me? Am I going to be, how am I going to feel after this?
Am I going to be able to drive after this or something? Yeah.
Exactly. How is this going to make me feel? Because I know how alcohol makes me feel, but I don't know how this is going to make me feel. And I just explained to people that, hey, it's more of a body high. Like, you just feel relaxed. You feel like you might giggle a little bit more and stuff like that.
Like
but it's
taking like a chamomile tea, like you just kind of like mellows you out a little bit. Like you're not even high. You just feel like.
Exactly. And I did have people wanting to do it with the alcoholic drinks as well.
Okay.
And that's where I was just like, okay, we got to like put a cap on this and whatnot, because I don't want to overserve anybody either. Huge part of bartending and mixology is being responsible about it, So
another part that people don't realize about our job is like we're just not making drinks. We're literally responsible and liable for whatever happens to them, and that's why we have to like keep track of things. It's
100%. I don't talk to you just because I want to talk to you. I talk to you from the beginning to the end of the experience so I can see how you've changed throughout the experience. So I know when I need to stop doing that. It's part
when
of
I need to feed you, try to get you to do other things, get some water. Like, 3 drinks affect everybody in a very different way. Like 3 drinks doesn't affect the same guy over here that can pound alcohol all day, the same way that other guy that can take 2 shots and like just turn into an absolute chimp.
Exactly.
It affects everybody different. Alcohol affects everybody different. It's not like a rule of thumb or anything like that. Like there's like the 1 drink an hour, blah blah blah. I know people that will have a drink and they'll be fucked up.
That was me.
That was not, I had a tolerance, but now if I have a drink,
Okay, I had like at the end of me drinking, I would have maybe 2 or 3 beers and 2 shots, and I was done for the rest of the night. No, completely done.
I could hold my alcohol for a while.
I mean, I was a lightweight from the beginning. I should have never started. It was bad. My first time, I prayed to the porcelain goddess as well. So I was just like, and that didn't teach me a lesson. So, but yeah, the CBD, the thing is that people think CBD is THC, and they are 2 completely separate like ways of affecting you, and even the way that they extract it, how it is the part of the flower, all of it, it's all very different. But people don't realize that. So education, once again, is our best friend. I just like to educate people on exactly what it is that they have, and they'll remember the story. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
People remember a story. They don't remember the ingredients. They don't remember this. They remember a story.
Yeah.
So,
especially when you're talking about like a 60-year-old couple that grew up in a different area, and they're coming into like vacation. They're like just retired, and they're like, I don't have to worry about a job. I'm gonna fucking do whatever, and I'm gonna take some CBD gummies with my drink and sit at the beach, and they're probably gonna go back to wherever they came from. Be like, that was awesome. That was best, and like now they're gonna have that memory. And you're right, like you're making a difference not just for the sales of the restaurant. Like things that you're doing with your cocktails and your things that you do, it's like you're trying to bring something that people can remember a few years later and be like, this bartender, this girl was awesome. This guy was awesome. Like they told me the story. They made me this drink that was amazing. And you with the CBD things is like that's a really nice touch.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just feel like if I I wanted something on the menu that I could order out if I went out being
Yeah.
a sober person and something that I would like. So I just kind of went with that and it seemed to attract and it seemed to go well. I'm no longer at that establishment. I kind of got out of the industry in the last month. Um, but yeah.
So I sense a little bit of a I want to say regret, but a little bit of nostalgia on that. On that, so you went from the industry, definitely a later bartender in that in this area, somebody that like has done a lot for the industry in this area. However, why step up?
Well, mostly because I'm a single mom and my kids are a product of divorce and they are acting out. And I just, I'm kind of getting to the point. I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30. And I am I mean 38 this year.
Does it hurt when you card somebody and it has a one in front of it? It doesn't have a one and they can drink. Like, didn't that fuck you up?
It kills me when I card somebody and it's not a fake one because they look so freaking young.
I
I'm
know.
so scared.
Oh
like
my
I'm like, are
God.
you, like I'm just too scared.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, is that really you?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I went on the sideways there. But
Please.
so you get out of the industry to be able to spend more time with your kids.
Yeah, basically. My oldest is 16, plays football. He wants to get involved more in football, and it was difficult for him because he was watching his little brother. And then my youngest son hated the fact that I worked all nights and all weekends till 2 o'clock in the morning. I was a zombie out in the soccer field on Saturday mornings. You know, I was just like not conducive to a single mom.
No.
And I have been doing this for 20 years, but I was in relationships. I had a marriage, I had this stuff.
So
where
you
I
got some
had
support,
help.
like a support system.
Now it's like I don't have that and I need to be everything for them.
Yes.
And I was so lucky enough in this industry, in the hospitality industry, to make so many connections with people that my boss now was a regular of mine who his business just grew and he's like, I need your help. Like, I need you to come help run my business. So now I work Monday through Friday. I'm pretty much remote. I do a lot of networking, marketing, growing businesses, which I'm good at.
Yeah.
But I do love, because as you can tell, mixology is my passion.
Yes.
That is my passion. And so it's hard for me to give up. So I'm not giving it up completely. I'm just going to moonlight a little bit.
All right, that's
and
fine. And
do my little bit of things here and there so I can keep
I have
it.
some ideas that you and I should like work on. It'll be great. Like I think like between like with the mocktails and stuff, like there's a lot of stuff that we can probably like just even just to like kill the time.
100%.
Absolutely. Like because I love it. Like I absolutely enjoy infusing something, taking the time, making my own syrups, making my own products, putting it all together, and then making a drink. And not drinking kind of like puts a dent on that because I'm like, all right, but still, like I just don't want to waste it. But even then, it's like all the things that I do at home that I always done at home is just a stimulant to my creativity. And I feel like were you always like a creative person growing up? Like were you always like, or is that something that you discover because of craft cocktails?
Well, let's just say I'm happy I had boys because I have no crafting skills. No, like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
All right, you're not allowed to say that you don't have any crafting skills when you literally craft all these amazing potions for drunk people. That's amazing.
Oh, that's a little different, I think. I think that I just enjoy that because of their reactions to it. My kids, they could care less if I make them something crafty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll take that back. I might be a crafty person in certain things, but I have no artistic ability whatsoever when it comes to like, I hate glitter.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't do makeup and hair for other people. I can do it for myself and that's about it. All that stuff. So it's just like having the boys was fantastic in that aspect. completely forgot where I was going with it. I got off on the tangent. Where was I going with that? What was the question?
Creativity.
Creativity. Was I creative as a kid? There we go. Okay. Cool. Sorry.
No, you're
All right. So having boys was fantastic for me because as a kid, I really wasn't allowed to be creative. It was do as you say, do as I say, and do as you're told. Don't speak unless you're spoken to, type of a thing. So I basically thought my life was planned out for me as a child.
Yeah.
So the creativity part of it was not something that was there as a kid. I always had a huge imagination. Like,
okay.
huge imagination. I loved reading books, so I could imagine pictures and imagine things and whatnot.
That's
That was
awesome.
my thing. I have a huge imagination. I think that's where the creativity might come from, is that the sky's the limit in your imagination, right? Like you can create anything in your imagination and it can be fantastic. I just like to bring it to reality. That's just how I am. I'm like, I always say I'm a cartoon character brought to life. I am animated. I am crazy. I will try anything
Super
at least
energetic.
once.
Super energetic. Like I cannot stress that enough, and I mean that in the best way because like it's like one of those people that you can walk into a room just absolutely depressed or super tired and exhausted, and just hanging out with her just like gives you like a boost. You're like, okay, this is awesome. Like I'm like it's like you're like that type of person. Like that type of person like really makes the whole place like let's go. Like you can come into like this really really bad like I don't want to work today, and then 5 minutes after hanging out with you, you're like, let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready.
Like I want that energy around me. So if you don't have my energy, I want you to have my energy because you will suck all of my energy from me.
Yeah.
Is what it'll be. And if we're all energetic, you can't suck anything out of
I love
me.
it.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I love it.
But yeah, so the creativity when it comes to cocktails and stuff, like I said, it just like I ended up working for places that allowed me to be creative, that allowed me to do what I want to do with the menu as long as it was going to make them money.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
That has to be the biggest part of it for the owners and whatnot. But for me, it was all about guests. Yeah. Everybody asks me what my favorite drink is to make, right? Like that's how often do you get that question as a bartender?
What's your favorite drink to make?
What's your favorite drink to make?
Here's a shot of whiskey.
Most bartenders say that is not
really
the slightest.
I have my favorite. It's always gonna be the old fashioned. I'm always gonna make a old fashioned. I know fashion is something that I truly enjoy making just because of the memories and stuff. But there's a joke. It's like, what's my favorite drink to make here? Like the fog in my face.
Exactly. But that's so funny because that's what most bartenders would say, yes. Like even if it's a joke or not, that's what they would say. When people ask me that, I'm like, the last thing I created that somebody really liked. Yeah. Like that's my favorite drink. It changes. It could change from minute to minute. It could change from day to day, hour to hour, week to week. Right. The last drink that I made that I created for somebody based off of the flavor palettes that they like and stuff like that, that's my favorite drink to make at that moment.
The one that made the person happy.
Yeah, the last one that made somebody happy and had that reaction that got me going in the first place. I'm like addicted to people liking like the drink.
That is my high.
That's exactly what it is. Is that I'm a people pleaser. I really am a people pleaser, and I want you to be happy with the product I give you. And if you're not, I will figure out how to make you happy with the product. So
you'll put something together.
I will.
So another thing I want to talk to you about, because I don't know the whole part about your addiction, and one of the challenges that we face in this industry, and I've talked to a couple of people about this that have had to struggle through this, but what are the things that mental health, right? It's a huge problem in the industry just because it's hard to build positive habits. It's hard to like create situations where like, all right, having a sleeping schedule is not a fucking thing. But with that being said, what are the challenges for somebody like struggling with addiction in this industry, especially doing it for so long? Like you've been in this industry for a long time, and how are you able to manage that? What's some advice that you can give people that are having problems like with addiction that don't want to leave the industry or don't have the ability to leave the industry because of the only like skill they have or something that allows them to be able to go through school or manage other situations in their lives, and this is just a good, they love doing what they do, they want to leave it, but what's a good way to like being able to manage like sobriety in this industry?
So for me, it's finding like-minded people. I have been completely blessed with all except for one job in the bar industry. I've had at least one other sober person that's worked there. I have been, and I attach to them. I don't attach to the people that are going to be drama, who are going to be going out partying and all that other stuff. I find like-minded people and I hang out with them. And there's so many things in this area that actually are geared to that. There's a lot of things that I was a part of the beginning processes of a thing called Hospitality Life.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitality Life is if you look it up online, it's kind of not a program, but it basically is a thing that was founded by one of my old owners, one of our old owners, to where it's where people who don't drink or use drugs can get together and do fun activities, can go out and do this, go out and do that together. You also have kind of meetings in a way, not AA or NA. It kind of has the same sort of vibe in a way because you're there for an hour, you go around the room, you talk and stuff like that. But there's no religion involved. There's no steps involved. It's just people getting together saying, oh my God, last night everybody was doing shots of Jameson in the kitchen and Grand Marnier with this. And that used to be my thing and all this other stuff. Like hearing chefs talk about the struggles in the kitchen where nobody sees them.
Nope.
They could very easily just hide and go drink something and nobody would know, right?
It's crazy.
It is. So it's just like hearing them talk about it, just talking about it with somebody is also a huge, huge thing. If you can find somebody you can trust that you can talk to about these issues, have at it. My thing is that you can't do it alone. You just can't. Like I have no
to do it, like build a support system.
You have to have a support system. You have to have something outside of it. But working in the industry, I will say I am once again completely lucky and blessed because I lost the desire to drink before I ever started bartending.
Yeah.
In the restaurant, but I did work in the restaurant industry during the time when I was still early on in my addiction and stuff. Not addiction, but my recovery.
Yeah.
And like I said, I put those boundaries up for myself. I only worked days. I only served. I only did this. I only did that. Those boundaries I put up for myself aren't necessary, but it is what helps me.
Okay.
But I would say just finding other people who are like you, who will support you and not people who are going to be like, hey, you could have one drink. It's fine.
It'll be all right.
It'll be fine. You could do that. Da, da. Even my own father.
Like somebody to also have somebody to like hold you accountable as well a little bit.
Yeah, that's why they do say like going to getting a sponsor and all this other stuff is important. But I mean, I'm not here to push anything like that down anybody's throat ever. My thing is like, have somebody. That's what a sponsor is supposed to do, is hold you accountable and guide you through the beginning steps of your recovery and stuff like that. Find somebody like that in your life, that's a great suggestion, is to have somebody who can hold you accountable, but also not surrounding yourself. And because a lot of times addiction goes hand in hand with FOMO, fear of missing out. Like we don't want to miss out on anything, right? Like that's a big part of it. And like just getting past that, guess what? I don't have to go to the bar. What did I miss out on? The fact that somebody threw up on the toilet, that somebody was doing cocaine off the back of a freaking toilet in there and I walked in on it. Yeah, that's what I missed. Great. Blah, blah, blah.
It gets odd.
It does. It becomes a thing that you just, being in the restaurant.
It's not fulfilling. That's the thing. It's like, it doesn't, like at the time it gets you going and it gives you fun and it like kind of like, gives you this energy and whatnot. And you're like, oh, that was a great story. But how many times do you have to relive the same story over and over again for you to realize that's it? That's all it's going to get you. That's as far as you're going to go with this. And like, it's a hard realization to get to. However, once you actually kind of like get and start like seeing it from a different perspective and seeing like, maybe I want to find things that are a little bit more fulfilling to me to do in my own time.
Right.
And that's another thing. It's like, maybe I don't want to be at a bar every time I get out of work. Maybe I want to go for a walk at the beach, or maybe I want to, come home and just like read a book, or just fucking do a hobby or find a hobby. Like, oh, I don't want to go out tonight because maybe tomorrow I can go paddleboarding in the fucking beach, or kind of go for a hike if you live in the mountains or whatever. And something that you couldn't do if you were hungover. Sure. That was my driver. That was my thing. I was like, I want to be able to hang out with my dog. in the mornings, take him to the beach at 6 in the morning. If I start taking shots when I get out of work, I'm not fucking getting up at 6 in the morning. Forget it.
Your dog doesn't get the beach that
No.
day. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of instant gratification is a big part of it. Is that you just want to go out, fear of missing out. You want to go out, you want to have that instant gratification. You want to feel this instead of thinking, how is this going to make me feel tomorrow? The way that you did. It's changing your mindset. I had to change my mindset to where this isn't fun. This is annoying. I spend way too much money as well because hey, I'm throwing shots for everybody.
That was another thing. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. I got it. Like, and it's fine when you do it for a couple of drinks, but like when you're like going out and like, oh, I bought fucking 20 shots for people. Fuck it. There goes all your time. There goes half your tips of the night.
And that's on almost every night when you get off of work thing in our industry.
Yes.
You know, every single time I work nights. If we didn't close at 2:00 in the morning, if we closed earlier than that, it was all let's go out.
Let's go to a dive bar that's still open until 2 in the morning. Fucking get.
And then find another bar that's open till 6 or 7 a.m.
Yes.
After that,
if not somebody's house, it never stops.
It's an ongoing thing. Yes. And so cutting that routine.
Yes.
Breaking that routine. You got to break out of it is what it is. I only knew 2 different lifestyles. I knew my very sheltered cult-like lifestyle growing up.
Big contrast.
Okay. Into this chaotic drug and alcohol induced lifestyle.
Yes.
I did not know a medium. I only know extreme.
It was black and white, but there was no like there's a lot of gray in the middle.
Exactly.
And you just jump from one to like the absolute opposite of it.
Exactly. And just because my desire to drink is not there anymore doesn't mean my addiction for more isn't there anymore.
Yes.
Everybody says, "Oh, what was your drug of choice?" And I'm like, "More." And they're like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Anything.
Whatever.
More." I'll eat more food. I'll binge watch more TV. I'll do this. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It can be anything.
That is the problem with a lot of people not understanding that addiction is just not a drug. Addiction comes in many, many shapes and forms. And if you are just replacing an addiction for another one that is less harmful, you're not necessarily doing the best for you because you're just kind of like filling a void with something else that is not good for you either. It's just, yeah, and sometimes it might be a better option. It might be like less harmful, as I said, but that's not necessarily like you're getting through the issues and you're just replacing one thing for another.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like I smoked cigarettes and that was the one thing I didn't want to quit when I quit everything else. Yeah. I was like, that's my one thing I have is cigarettes, right? I finally was just like, I got pregnant with my youngest. I was like, I guess it's time to give up cigarettes. And I never picked them back up, which was fantastic.
That's a tough one to get.
That was a very difficult. I started smoking before I even got into hard drugs. Before I even started drinking, I started smoking cigarettes. So that was the longest one of my addictions, to tell you the truth. But I will say when it comes to like mental health, depression, anxiety, all that stuff that goes on in our industry, because hello, it's chaos. It's organized chaos all the time. All the time. So like you get addicted to that. You get addicted to that lifestyle. You crave it. You want all this stuff, but it also kills you a little bit. Like it kills your spirit. It kills your soul, like type of a thing. But it's not good for your mental or emotional state either. So for me, when COVID happened, I did let you know this earlier. I had one of my employees who I was very, very close with ended up passing away.
Yeah.
I went through major depression, anxiety attacks, had all this stuff going on. They put me on pills, Western medicine and whatnot. I got put on pills and everything. And at first it worked, right? But then after a month, I had way worse mood swings than I did before. So for me, being even a doctor telling me, hey, you can take this kind of a narcotic or whatnot, it didn't go well with me. And you have to know yourself well enough to know what goes well with you. So for me, that's also where the CBD came in, is I started researching THC and CBD and the benefits it has on mental health as well. Because I was not in a place where I wanted to be mentally and emotionally. And I wanted to help myself without putting a pill
Yes.
down my throat every day.
And it's rough because there's a lot of stigmas and stuff like that, especially when it comes to like pills, especially when it comes to CBD, especially when it comes to just mental health in general.
Yes.
Luckily, we live in a world that has become a little bit more aware of that. I personally myself I struggle with like PTSD and depression and anxiety, and it's hard. It's hard to be able to deal with it, especially within the industry, because of the same thing. It doesn't allow you to create like good habits a lot of times. So like sleeping schedule. Sleep is a huge thing when it comes to like mental health. Like if you suffer from anxiety, you know that if you can't sleep and if you don't get proper sleep, it just gets fucking worse.
Yes.
And so that those little things it start to add up when it comes to like medication, self-medication, which is another thing that you end up leading to addiction. Is like, all right, you have anxiety, you have depression, I'm gonna take a shot because it helps me sleep. Oh, you can't sleep, so I'm gonna take a shot. Now tomorrow's gonna be 2 shots, now 3 shots. Next thing you know, you're getting like blacked out drunk so that you can actually go to sleep, and you build this negative habits out of that.
Yes, very much so. Self-medication is huge
in our industry.
Huge. Well, in any industry, for everybody, but in our industry, very much so, because you deal with all this chaos during your shift. You are just running, and then you stop.
Yes.
Like, what do I do? Now your brain has to deal with the fact of everything that's going on in your life. And a lot of it is the self-medication is to forget.
Yes.
Well, guess what? That's not helping tomorrow.
Absolutely
your
not.
issues and your problems are still going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's not, changing the mindset is the number one thing that has to happen. That's the number one thing that has to happen for anybody who's dealing with this in the industry. Changing the mindset. Sure. I was such a victim. Everybody else, it was all your fault.
Self-accountability is huge in general.
Yes, well, exactly, in general. But like as an addict, it was so easy for me to manipulate and play the victim role and to do all that stuff because I was going to score no matter what. You know, like that's how it was. I didn't want to deal with me. I didn't like me. I didn't know who I was, to tell you the truth, because I went from that sheltered little girl to a drug addict.
So there was there was no ability to explore who you were or anything like that.
Who's Rachel?
No.
Who the heck is Rachel? Well, I've learned her now. She's a little bit. She's still. I'm still cuckoo, but hey,
cuckoo's awesome. Cuckoo's awesome. That's what makes you fucking awesome.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I feel like just for anybody who's struggling or whatnot, I mean, just reach out to somebody. And that also helps change the mindset.
Yes.
I had such pride that I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want my family to know where I was at. I didn't want my friends to know how bad I had gotten. Even the drug dealers didn't even know how bad I had gotten because I kept going to different ones to score different ones so they wouldn't know. It's crazy, right? Like that's how my mind was.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people's are. A lot. I'm not the only one out there.
No, and I know. I mean, like I said, I grew up in a family where I've seen addiction from another perspective as well. I never really fell into addiction with drugs or anything like that. I can say maybe alcohol was starting to get a hold of me, but I also grew up in a family where alcohol addiction, like when I talk about like alcohol addiction to the point where like they're like in comas, like one of my aunts actually passed away because of alcoholism. But it's fine. It's just like it's one of those things that I was able to get that like see those mirrors, and it's rough. I mean, people don't really realize how bad it is.
Yeah. And I had no idea that anybody else lived that way because of my upbringing.
Yeah.
There was no alcohol. There were no drugs. There was nothing. Grape juice was at church. It wasn't even wine. Okay, it was grape juice. Okay, so like there was zero alcohol with me growing up. My introduction to everything that I did was myself. I introduced myself to everything. Yeah. So I didn't know how it was for everybody. I didn't know the dangers of it all because I didn't educate myself and I just kind of learned through doing, And I'm very lucky and grateful, blessed again, to actually be here today. There's been many, 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 many times I should have not been here.
Well,
basically.
I am so happy that you're here, Rachel. I really are. I'm really happy that we decided to do this. I'm really happy that you joined me today for this. And again, we gotta talk more
Yes.
about some other things that I have in my mind, and you will be like the perfect person to actually like do that with.
That makes
And
me
then
excited.
yeah, I'm like now I'm like my wheels are turning. You know how I am, like my wheels are always turning. Like you think you're cook, I'm cook.
Well, listen, birds of a feather flock
Oh, yeah.
together over here,
So-
baby. Yes.
So this is amazing. We're reaching towards the end. There's a couple of things that we do on this podcast.
Okay.
One, I usually ask the bartender what their shifty is. Obviously, you're a sober bartender, so it wouldn't be a shifty, but the shifty is like that one drink that you take that brings you back to like after having like a crazy night. You're making drinks left and right, 4 day at a bar. What is that thing? In this case, not a drink. What is that you do once you're done with the night, and then you like need to wind down, like kind of like to get you back and bring your soul back into your body. Although you're a ginger, so I don't know if you have a soul, bro.
It's either I have no soul or I have all the souls because I'm stealing all of them from everybody. It's one or the other. I can't figure it out either. But yeah, I actually. It's funny. I do make myself a shifty, but it's not alcohol.
Okay.
It's called the Rachel's Refresher because I made it for myself, and it's the most intricate drink at any of my bars, and there's no alcohol in it, and people hate making it because there's no alcohol in it. But there's more muddling and more fresh ingredients than anything else. It's basically just fresh fruit, mint, and like basically
You gotta share me the recipe so we can put it out there for all the sober bartenders so that they can make themselves something.
If you like ginger beer, this is your baby, okay?
I'm gonna make this at home.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. And it goes well with alcohol too. So anybody who does drink, it actually does go good with Captain Morgan, tequila, or Tito's, from what I'm told.
I don't.
So I actually sit in my car. I drive home. I get in my driveway. And I sit in my car for about 15 minutes before I go inside because I have to switch from that mode
like
to
turn the gears. Yeah.
And my oldest is 16. So let me tell you, he doesn't sleep very often. He always waits up for mom, and he always comes outside and bangs on the window. But I usually get good 10 to 15 minutes in my driveway just listening to music. That's it.
Just decompressing.
Listening to my Moody Bitch mix on Spotify because Moody Bitch means I don't know what mood I'm in. So you're going to tell me based off of the music that you play. So that literally has all the genres on my Moody Bitch mix. Okay. So that's what I call it. So there's that. But most of the time I'm actually like just while I'm listening to the music, I'm thinking about my day, things that I could have done better, and things that I can do tomorrow. It's more of a self-evaluation type of a thing is what I do. I know it doesn't sound that relaxing or anything like that.
It's fun.
But with the music and stuff like that, that's just how I do it.
I have my own routine when I drive home. Like my drive home is my decompressing time.
Yeah.
And I have my own like songs and stuff that I listen to depending on how my night went. And when I get home, sometimes I pull up in front of the gate and I just kind of wait a little bit and just chill for 5 minutes before I go inside of the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I get it. Back in the day when I did drink, though, it was a Corona and a shot of whatever you wanted to give me. That was my shifty afterwards. It had to be a Corona with lime and whatever shot you wanted to give me, and that was my shifty.
I used to do a lager and a shot of JMO.
Yeah.
Or a shot of Jim Beam.
Yeah.
Whatever you had available.
JMO seems to be the thing. The brown tea shot, everybody. The brown tea shot is the thing for everybody around here. But I kind of wanted to plug in one thing, if I could. It just remembered, actually, talking about being clean and sober and stuff like that. I am celebrating 14 years.
Fuck yeah.
Next week on
We're
Wednesday.
going to do something. We gotta do something.
Yeah.
We gotta do something, Rachel. 14 fucking years.
We gotta make mocktails and smoke them because
let's do it.
I don't know if you've ever smoked a mocktail before.
I got all the chips in the world.
I know you do. I know you do. I learned off of you actually with the chips and everything.
Hell yeah.
I had apple chips. I had birchwood. I had all the different chips at my last bar. I love it.
Let's do this. I bring the chips. I'll bring the smokers, and we'll fucking go ape shit.
We'll go crazy. I'll get all the ingredients. We'll make a Rachel's Refresher and smoke it.
Fuck yeah. 14 years. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The other thing we do on this podcast is we have to acknowledge that without our customers, we wouldn't have an industry.
Very true.
And there's some of the customers that we usually refer to as our regulars. Our regulars are our pips, are the people that, like, become somewhat of the family, sometimes part of the staff. And I like to usually give a shout out to a regular of the week. So is there a regular out there in your life, in your career, that has, made an impact on your life, or that has like made a like left a mark in your life, and that you would like to give the regular of the week to?
There's so many. I'm telling you, I stayed in the industry as long as I did for my guests.
That's why.
That's why. Okay, so which Rachel groupie do I want to give a shout out to? They named themselves, just so you
Rachel
know.
groupie.
Yes, I have a couple of guys that named themselves the Rachel's groupie, so it's grown. But I would say, okay, Tommy. I love you, Tommy. I know you're probably not listening to this, but I love you. I'm going to send it to him so he knows. So basically, it's an old fashioned that I made for him. And he's not an old fashioned type of guy. He doesn't like the raw taste of bourbon, right? He's not that type of a person. If he's going to do something, he's going to do Jim Beam and ginger ale. That's what he likes, right? So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, let me make you an old fashioned. I had gotten some smoked maple bourbon in, and I was like, can I make you something fun? And sure, blah, blah, blah. So black walnut bitters, bourbon barrel bitters, demerara syrup, and the smoked maple bourbon in there,
Nice.
right? Okay, so I make it for him. He loved it so much. I'm telling you, this man sold those things for me every time he sat at the bar. Every time. And it was the most expensive drink on the menu.
That's amazing.
Just so happens that the last job that I worked at as a bartender, well, as the general manager of the place, his son is one of the owners of it. And when I was making the drink menu, I brought that old fashioned, because I never had it on any menu before. I brought that old fashioned with me, and I named it after him, Tommy's Old Fashioned.
Yeah.
So when he came in for opening night, he saw his name on the menu, and he just started like tearing up. He got so excited. Amazing. But it's Tommy's Old Fashioned. It's the name of it. So thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I love you. So,
Rachel, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
We are at the Village Idiot Pub tonight.
Yes.
I want to give a huge shout out to Jason and the Village Idiot Pub for allowing us to do this here and lending us the space to be able to talk. And if you guys are in the Brevard County area in Florida and the Space Coast, come check them out. They have the best selection of beers in the area. And if you're a sober bartender that wants to have a beer, they usually have about 10 different non-alcoholic beers. So come check them out. And thank you so much for joining today, Rachel.
Thank you.
I am so happy you did this.
Me too. Thank you so much. It was great. Awesome. All right.